Good afternoon, this is Blu Laker. We're here at Radio Tribune in Las Vegas, Nevada, at 717 South 9th Street. That's at the corner of Charleston and 9th. And if you're interested in coming by and submitting your ideas and talking to us about maybe some of the subjects that we speak about, do so. Again, 717 South 9th Street. The telephone number is 702-743-8297. My name is Blu Laker, and we're going to get on with the show right now. We're going to talk about the deadliest conflicts in the world in 2016. The deadliest conflicts in the world in 2016. Now, if you had to guess, what would you say was one of the most deadly conflicts that we have seen in 2016? Would you say it's in this country? Would you say it's in the Middle East? Would you say it was something to do with North Korea? Or would you consider it something more localized, something like Mexico? Well, just to give you the numbers on that, the Mexican drug war has killed far more Americans than ISIS. And we need to protect ourselves against them too. But the reason we talk about this today is because even in today's news, when there was an attacker who went to baseball practices that were supposed to be up and coming, there was an assemblyman and a couple of police or guards who got shot, and I guess in total he wounded about 5 people. I guess some of those were light enough that they didn't even have to go to the hospital. Point is that here we are, we're fighting wars all over the place. We're fighting the wars in Iraq, Iran, in many, many places that we don't even think about. Somalia, for example. And the wars that we have going on, ongoing wars or contemplation of wars with North Korea, possibility of conflicts with Russia, we don't know, and who knows what else. But in addition to all of those, we have to talk about right here in the United States and what we're going to do to protect ourselves. Again, this shooting that took place today was not by a group of extreme Muslim radicals. It was done by an American who disliked Trump, just didn't like Trump. Now, it gets a lot deeper than that, because what he was saying was that he didn't believe what Trump was saying, that he didn't agree with the ideas. And he, in fact, was more inclined to think about the ways that Bernie Sanders had performed, and that he wanted the Democratic Party to be in control. So the reason I say that is this: we have enough wars going on around the world and even in this country. But do we need another war in the United States between the Democrats and the Republicans? And if today was any indication of people that are still in the closet who want to come out and want to destroy the other party, and they haven't been able to do it successfully with their verbiage by spreading discourse and misnomers about what's going on in the Republican Party and what they're trying to do. As far as I can tell, the only thing that the Republican Party is trying to do is to make America better. But we can't have these contests between the two parties, especially when they lead to death and destruction, murder. Now, all right, we recognize what a war is, don't we? We recognize that when we're at war with someone, usually it's a declared war, and that in that declared war, if we're prompted, we have to respond. And I'm not saying that we haven't been aggressive in the past. In Iraq, for example, is one of those places that we assumed that Saddam Hussein was the guilty party, that he did all of these crimes against humanity, and it cost us 5,000 lives or more, many, many thousands of people wounded, some for life, and millions, if not billions of dollars to go in and take him out. Well, we did that. And I hope you're proud of yourself for exposing our people to the dangers that presented. 5,000 people is a lot of people. And it doesn't make any difference who, where, what, or when. We saw 3,000 people killed in the 9/11 attacks. Those 9/11 attacks were prompted, well, I guess I'm not really sure who prompted that, but we do know that 19 of those saboteurs were from Saudi Arabia. That much we do know. That much is clear. But have we declared war on Saudi Arabia? Well, no. There's only a handful of those people. Well, excuse me, a handful of those people are responsible for at least 3,000 deaths, if not more, that we don't even know about. So when we talk about war, then we also need to understand that there are no options left off the table when it comes to war. As was clearly shown today, we're getting it down to the fine line where you have Democrats going against Republicans and are willing to sacrifice their lives in order to get their goal. Is that what it's going to be? Is we're going to be in an all-out war, or another civil war? Or are we going to come to our senses and start coming together as a nation? It makes more sense if we work together to achieve the goals and aspirations for the future of America. Those goals and aspirations have to be not just for us as individuals, but for the future generations. And the future generations are really what count. Because we've lived lives, and somehow or another we managed to get through to the point that we're still alive. But what happens if we don't get together? What happens if we allow the enemy to come right in our back door and take over? And they will. As we have seen so many times in the past, that's exactly what war is all about. They want something you want, or something you have, and that's the reason they do it. It isn't just because of political correctness, no. It's because, in some cases, well, Mexico, for example, said, well, we used to have California, New Mexico, Arizona, Nevada. We had that. Now we want it back. And we say, well, we're not giving it back. But we are allowing them to take over without firing a shot. Now, what is the possible outcome of that? Let us change the subject for a second. What's the outcome with ISIS if they do the same thing, only they try a little harder? They, expose us to a lot of bombs and guns and whatever they can to kill Americans, and in particular Catholics and Jews, or Christians. Not just Catholics, but Christians. And they seem to be doing a great job about it, because we don't know where they're at. We don't know what they're up to. We think we have inroads, but why is it then all of these atrocities have taken place if we got our thumb on everything? But we don't have our thumb on everything, and as you can see, it can get worse and worse and worse. Now, it brings us back to points in history that we should observe. One of those things that we should be observing is the Great Depression. The Great Depression, and why it started, how it started, and the effects of that. And the truth of the matter is, it was because of economic conditions that the government that was supposed to be taking care of us was seeing that those things were wired, if you were, weren't. And they allowed the Great Depression to come on, where hundreds of thousands of people were out of work and had to resort to the soup lines and other support that was available at the time. But you know, even then, when they were in the soup lines, they dressed for the occasion. They wore jackets and hats and shirts and ties and things of that nature. Today, look at the great change. The great change is that now we see people with their pants down below their butt. We see a degradation of value, of appearance, of not political correctness, but politeness and genuine interest in other human beings. Not there anymore. We used to have family reunions, and family got together, and they were very appreciative of the fact that they did get together. Where do you see that happening anymore today? Well, there are some communities that still do it. And that's a benefit to them and to us, because when you're in family and you have some guidance, you can maybe stay out of trouble. And that's what it's really all about, is staying out of trouble. Now again, when we talk about the deadliest conflicts in the world in 2016, in 2016, in Syria, there were 50,000 deaths. In Mexico, and Mexico is not at war, except internally, there were 23,000 deaths. In Iraq, 17,000. Afghanistan, 16,000. And Yemen, 7,000. But the Mexican drug war has killed more Americans than ISIS. And what are we doing to protect ourselves except leaving the doors wide open? As Syria, Iraq, and Afghanistan dominated the news agencies, Mexico's drugs war claimed 23,000 lives during 2016, second only to Syria, where 50,000 people died as a result of the civil war. This is all the more surprising considering that the conflict deaths in Mexico are nearly all attributed to small arms, said John Chipman, Chief Executive and Director General of the International Institute for Strategic Studies, which issues its annual survey of aimed conflict on this Tuesday. But that gives you a little idea of what's been going on in the world. And yet, we're not paying enough attention. What we're doing is we're trying to be divisive in our approach to democracy. And I'm not so sure that democracy is headed in the right direction. We formed republics when we put this country together. When we decided on the Constitution and the Bill of Rights, those documents gave us liberties that we never had before from an oppressive Great Britain. But yet today, with all the conflicts that are going on in the world, we find ourselves going back to our traditional values and saying that those who oppressed us in the past have become our friends today. And I'm not so sure that that's a good analogy. Because you see, we fought the Second World War against Japan, China, and Germany. And yet today, some of those countries are our allies. Now, why is it when we look at what we're doing, don't we understand that maybe it's hypocritical? That we fought these people in the past and now they've become our friends, with millions of people who have died in the interest of liberty for the United States? Where is the restitution? Where is the sympathy and understanding and the cost that have gone along with all of these wars? And how are we going to get out of a $20 trillion deficit? Are these questions that come to your mind as well? Well, if they did, what you should do is you should try to come in or call in so that you can give a viewpoint on your thoughts and what you think the options are for us to get out of these problems, be it the deficit or the internal wars that we're fighting with the Democrats, or the internal wars that we're fighting for control of this country by other communities, whether it be Muslims or Mexicans or whoever else. How are we going to stop them? Are we going to stop them the way that they've stopped us and stymied us? By picking up arms and going after them? That's what war is all about, unfortunately. That some give their most precious gift, their life, so that other people can live in peace and harmony. And yes, it has become necessary in the past and will probably continue in the near future until we finally recognize that this planet was not intended to be a plague garden or to allow conflict to arise on a daily basis. We need to control our own borders here in the United States. And as so many presidents have said, that a country without borders is no country at all, because anybody can come in. And basically that's true. You can say, well, we vet those that we can catch, and even when we catch those that are in this country illegally, and put them in jail for a short period of time, send them home, they come back, they commit more crimes and more atrocities, and we still have to pay the price. We have to pay the price for prosecuting them. We have to pay the price of supporting them while they are here. How can you say that? Well, I can say it because of subsidies, because their friends have those subsidies. They have housing subsidies. They have food stamps. They have medical. They have education. All these subsidies that we hand out freely to people who don't even have the right to be here. When are you going to wake up, or when are we going to wake up here in America and realize that we better take care of number one first? That's right, make America great again. Think of Americans first. And if there's any room left over for someone else, then we can accommodate some of them, but we can't accommodate them all. And that's what really has caused the problem. And going back to the Great Depression, if it was all economically based, and what was the cure? Well, let's not get away from what was, if it was all economically based. Let me point out some of the difficulty that we have in today's economy with the $20 trillion deficit. You see, our past administrations have been very free with our money for great conflicts. You see, it's not all being spent here in the United States. A great deal of it is in the form of subsidies and services that we offer free to anybody that hits the payment. So when and if we can bring our economy back into perspective, we may have a chance to move forward and become the great country that we used to be. That's right. Today is not unusual to see 4 or 5 cars parked in the driveway, and people living above and beyond their needs. When was it that these people gained the right to these services that belong strictly to the citizens of the United States? Now you may say, well, Blu Laker, that's your opinion. If you don't like it, get the hell out. Well, I would say the same thing to them. The problem is that they don't get out, you see. They're not going out, and when we get them out, they come back. They're like fleas on a dog. And if you don't get rid of them all, they slowly but surely come back and eventually suffocate the animal. Well, that's where we're at today. That's exactly what will happen if we don't nip this in the bud. And has it been done before? Yes, I'm going to tell you what, where, and when. You see, during the American Revolution, we had a similar problem of an overzealous government called Great Britain. And they came in and imposed the fees, the taxes, and obligations. And we were under their foot. They ruled this United States, or what was to become the United States. And so a group of brave Americans, farmers, ranchers, and the like, decided they had enough. They decided they had enough. And they got together and they fought this despicable tyrant government. And fortunately for us, they won. And we had some very intelligent people back then who sat down collectively and put together the Constitution and Bill of Rights for the United States. The doctrines that we live by today, but let's not get too far ahead of ourselves here, because we had other conflicts here in America that took up our time, space, and our money. There was the Spanish-American War, for example. There was an even greater war right here in America, and we're seeing that on the drawing boards today, the Civil War, where over 1 million people lost their lives. Men, women, and even, yes, children gave their lives in pursuit of their rights. And what they were fighting for was state rights. The ability of the states to have the final say in decisions made at the federal level. And it wasn't about slavery. Although slavery was an issue, and it's an issue that we did clean up. You see, the thing about issues is that they can be corrected when they are morally incorrect. We can do that. But we can't stop an oppressive government that calls the shots without even considering what the people want. So let's move on. But the Civil War is not something that we can move on so easily with in just a few words. Because there were so many men, women, and children who gave up their lives just to support their cause. And again, we see that same thing happening today, where it's not only people the immigrants from other countries that are coming in to contest and say that they're entitled to the same rights because they're non-citizens. And I see that doesn't make a lot of sense either. But now we're getting round to the core, and basically that core is consisting of our political system of Republicans and Democrats, who, because the Democrats have lost, are doing everything in their power to stop this administration from going forward and taking and making the conditions that are going to make this country successful. When? Have we lost our mind? Are we going to allow this country to be taken over by infidels? Oh, I'm sorry, we're the infidels. And who's going to get it? Is it going to be ISIS that wants to kill all the Christians and Jews? Well, this is the largest Christian community in the world. And if we can't stop Allah from taking over this country, who can? And is that just the beginning of the end? I think there's a few surprises in store. We see them happening all of the time. Today's incident, again, purely highlighted the fact that an individual who had animosity towards this president-elect decided to knock out a few of the people that respond to him. Is that what it's all about? And are we just to sit back and put those people in jail one at a time? But there's so many of them, as there are with the Muslims. We don't know. We do know that that's their basic philosophy, that they take the Quran as gospel, and they worship Muhammad, I guess, or Allah, and we're allowing it to take place in this country. Well, let me say this. If we don't get it straightened soon, we don't have to worry about the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, because it will be gone. And if that's what you want, if you're going to sit there watching television, your favorite TV program, or sports, whatever the case may be, if you're not willing to participate in the future of this country, then we will lose what we have. And I don't believe that's what most people want. They may think that the grass is greener on the other side, but it never is. And with that comes the purging of a section of the population. What section is it going to be? Should it be the American citizens, or those people who would take our liberties and destroy them? Well, I'm not very bright, but I am a Christian, and I am an American, and I am a patriot, and I believe that the Constitution and Bill of Rights and the millions and millions of people who fought for that and died for it deserve our consideration, not just our consideration, but our appreciation for what they've done, and not to let them have died in vain for what we so thoroughly need. We need a good government, one that responds to the people, for the people, and by the people. One who takes their obligations seriously, not the ones who take them lightly. We have a debt of gratitude to pay to them, and it is not quitting now. So again, due to the fact that this show is just about over today, I want to remind you that you can get involved. You can call us at 702-743-8297, or you can stop by the studio at 717 South 9th Street, right here in Las Vegas, and that's at the corner of Charleston and 9th. By the way, we put out a weekly publication that's called the Las Vegas Tribune. It's an internet newspaper filled with good information on today's subject. Subjects that you won't find anywhere else. Subjects that you can comment on, or write an opinion of your own. We enjoy public participation, and we look forward to the opportunity of being able to meet you and get your thoughts. So don't be shy, and don't let a handful of Americans try to recapture the fame and glory that we once had, to make America strong again, and to make America number one again. And we got a lot of work cut out for us. Do your part, get involved. Don't let it fall in the hands of a few, because they can be easily overrun. Have a great day. It's like Blu Laker Radio Tribune right here in Las Vegas, Nevada. Bye-bye.